White man at the Target caught me off guard. He called me a pussy and a nigga and a pussy and a nigga and a pussy and a nigga and... I said, I am not finna be one of these.
I was in no way the aggressor. I never went up to him. He's making cynical comments, like insulting comments.
You lying ass bitch.
Bam! What the fuck did I just do? What the fuck?
Smile for the camera, hot shot!
The appeal of in-game media has less to do with the content than with the context. It's not that you want to get caught up on every episode of Republican Space Rangers. What you want is to be Nico Bellic, zoning out with some cartoons at the end of a long day. Remember in Max Payne when you're walking around in derelict factories and apartments and you hear the eerie soundscapes and voiceovers of Address Unknown?
The fake doctors were trying to confuse me, saying I was John Mira, pumping me full of drugs.
In-game media can do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to settling the player into a game world. In the early Grand Theft Autos, the radio stations were intended to cover for the low fidelity of the game's graphical presentation. Seeing the same 5 or 6 NPCs walking these low-res streets, it gets to feeling pretty shallow if that's all you got. So the smart-ass DJs and satirical radio ads, they'd lend the game some personality that might have been difficult to achieve in the visuals alone. Because it's the context that really matters, because this stuff is background decoration that doesn't really need to stand on its own, the content is often forgiven for being kind of lousy. Grand Theft Auto 5 even has multiple mission threads devoted to portraying the Vinewood entertainment industry as a cesspool of hacks and hucksters. It wouldn't even make sense for the in-game shows and movies to be all that good. That the bar for fake TV shows is even lower than the bar for real TV shows, or at least it used to be. The really good stuff stands out simply because it's in the last place you think to look for it. So what I'm talking about here is Katt Williams stand-up sets in Grand Theft Auto 4. Rockstar actually went out and hired Katt and Ricky Gervais to record stand-up sets for the in-game comedy club Split Sides, and it's not just a simple voiceover job. Katt Williams is one of the more animated stage comics working today, and whether they did motion capture or just recorded reference video, they actually nailed a lot of his movements and mannerisms.
See me looking at you like this, like, I gotta go to work in the morning. What the fuck is wrong with you?
GTA 4's facial animation is, in retrospect, kind of primitive. But you know this is Katt when you see him in motion. You can go to Split Sides and watch these routines in person, but I prefer to watch it on the TV in Nico's apartment, so that I can change the channel if it's Ricky Gervais.
Mr. Ricky Gervais!
Whoa.
Where was the Declaration of Independence signed? At the bottom, I guess.
Split Sides is the kind of show you might stumble upon at 1 in the morning after getting home from work. It's like Evening at the Improv or Showtime at the Apollo or, okay, my analytics tell me that most of you are too young to know what television is. So it's like, not Netflix specials, but like YouTube clips of stand-up where it's in a small club. The thing is, sometimes the comics on these shows are funny and sometimes they're not, but they always do a good job of keeping you company as you brush your teeth, take a piss, and settle in for the night. They tend to be low energy and undemanding, just a guy telling jokes in a dimly lit room. So I like Split Sides in concept alone, but the Katt Williams episode in particular is my favorite single piece of in-game media ever produced. I guess there are funnier comedians out there than Katt Williams, but there are none better at crowd work. He takes the stage, and within the first couple minutes, everybody in that room is his friend.
God damn, Atlanta, look at you motherfuckers, god damn it! I don't know what the...
Nobody is better at getting the audience on their side, and that's just as true with a real live audience as it is with the NPCs of Grand Theft Auto. Something you learn to do as a working comedian is research the towns you're touring. You learn little bits and pieces about the character of every city you visit, their favorite sports teams, local laws that piss them off, which politicians you want to make fun of, and from there you tweak your material to fit the city.
I want to thank all the hairstylists in Atlanta. It's 9 million of you motherfuckers. Thank you. One more of you bitches asked to do my goddamn hair. Fuck no. Y'all, fuck that.
A really good touring comedian is basically a lore sponge. And that's something that translates well to writing this nested media-in-media content.
The only real thing I get out of a daily experience is the fact that I'm guaranteed that I am going to find out something today that I didn't know yesterday.
Throughout his sets, Katt Williams references local spots like Burger Shot and Bean Machine. He has a whole bit on how odd it is that there are no cats or dogs to be found. He remarks on the fast pace of life in Liberty City and notes that they have the best weed in the world.
I've been all around this motherfucker. I ain't seen a dog or a cat yet. Just thought about it, didn't you? Go ahead, think back. No, that wasn't a dog.
So he either asked them for notes to inform his set, or he actually read the ones that Ricky ignored. There's nothing in Ricky Gervais' set that you couldn't get by licensing some existing footage of his act and animating over it. Katt Williams' sets are so special because he's speaking directly to the inhabitants of Liberty City. That is, he's speaking directly to you, the player. What is it you kids are saying these days? He understood the assignment. Whether he was already a fan of the series or he's just a devoted professional who goes above and beyond, Katt Williams' material in GTA 4 is a masterclass in what it means to be a good entertainer. In talking about the city, Katt talks about the experience of playing an open-world crime game. He addresses the player by addressing the digital pedestrians that we're going to run over on our way out of the club. In contrast, all Ricky Gervais wants to talk about is himself.
I do a lot of charity work. I do a lot of work for AIDS as well. You read about yourself. They can't just say Ricky Gervais comedian. Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais.
Of course, credit where it's due, he did show up sober and take the job seriously.
There are so many virgins in here. Richard Branson is doing this event. All right.
But Katt took the opportunity to create something really special, something that hasn't been touched before or since, reaching through layers and layers of unreality to engage the player in the same way he engages a live audience, by speaking to your lived experience. Maybe I'm making a big deal out of a guy adding a few GTA references to jokes he's already told a few dozen times, but I think genius has a lot more to do with craft and practice than people realize. It's not sudden divine strokes of brilliance where the piano music intensifies and you're speaking tongues on the chalkboard. If Katt Williams can hit a target that nobody else can see, especially Ricky Gervais, it's because he spent his whole career learning how to spot it.
Why do you think we exist?
I believe it's a video game.
Bet you can't hit the subscribe button before this video ends.